What do you do with your leftover chicken soup? Let me show you what I do with mine. Hi, I'm Julie, keeper of my home. Welcome back to my channel. We made a homemade chicken soup the other night and we had some left over. So I have put it on the cook stove to bring it to a boil. I'm just going to thicken it up. You don't want to boil way too much of the liquid. So I'm just going to set it aside for a minute. It's nice and bubbly. And I'm going to take a small pot, doesn't have to be anything big. I've got a half a cup of butter. It's one stick. I have very little salt in my chicken soup, so I'm using salted butter. If you like a lot of salt in your soup, or if you made it and you used a lot of salt, you'll want to use unsalted butter. So to the butter, I am going to add a half a cup of flour. This is just going to make a little roux so that I can thicken up my soup. It's going to get kind of like wallpaper paste. Not a very appetizing thought, but that's the best thing I can relate it to. Okay, so it's nice and smooth. I just want to cook off that flour taste, so I'm going to keep it cooking on here for a few minutes, but I'm going to constantly whisk it. I don't want to stop whisking because I don't want it to burn on. This is some really hot heat. It's a cold day out there. It's in the low teens. So we like to keep it nice and warm in here. And of course you can see behind me, I don't know if you can see or not, Holly Dog likes to sit really close to the wood stove. So we're just going to whisk this. Oh, I like to do it for a couple of minutes. I really want to cook off that flour taste, and this is the best way to do it, because if you just melt the butter and then add the flour and whisk it up until it's mixed, you might get a little bit of that flour taste, and that's something that I don't want. But you want to make sure that you're always stirring this because you do not want this to burn. It's not going to taste very nice if you let it burn. I think we're just about there. This is some really high heat. I don't know if you can see this or not. It's really just like wallpaper paste. But it's kind of deepened in color, and that's just browning that butter up a little bit. I'm going to stir this in. I'm going to stir all of it in. Okay, this is thickened up quite a bit. You see how thickened that is? So if you are making a chicken pot pie, you want it to be thick. And this is going to thicken a little bit more as you cook it. Okay, so now we're going to do the pie crust part of the chicken pot pie. I actually am doing this because I had a couple of requests. One request was, could I make pie crust? The other request was, could you make something using those little tiny dishes that you like so much? So this was the best idea. These are little pie tins. Love these things. I do make these often. I usually keep them, store them in my freezer so I can just pull them out for a quick lunch or to send with my husband to lunch, or if the grandkids come over, they love these. They think that, you know, this is great because it's their own little pie. But first, let's get into the pie crust. Okay, so I have 2 cups of flour, just regular all-purpose flour. And you can do this in a bowl separate. You don't have to do it in a food processor. I like doing it in a food processor because it's quicker, it's easier. It's one dish. I don't know. I just like doing it this way. It does all the work for me, I guess. So this is 2 cups of flour. I also added some salt. I did about 1/4 teaspoon, half a teaspoon. I don't like to add too much salt. So to that I'm going to add 2/3 cup of shortening. See how easy that is? Shortening is horrible to scoop out of a measuring cup. So these little sliders, love them. Okay, so we're gonna put the lid on here. And turn it on, plug your ears, it's kind of loud. You just want little pea-sized clumps to form. I'm gonna show this to you. Can you see it's just little crumbs is what it looks like, just crumbs. That's all you want. Okay, and to that I'm going to add 2 to 3 tablespoons of really cold water, and I have some that I put in the refrigerator. So I am just going to add that down my little hatch. Plug your ears again. I'm going to turn this on. It's a little bit loud. You can see how this actually formed a ball of dough. Good indication to know that it's done. It forms a nice ball of dough. I put this on a very lightly floured surface. I don't want it too floured because I don't want to dry this dough out. I do want to flour my pan well so that it doesn't stick to my pie crust. And I just want to roll that out. You don't have to be a perfect pie crust roller. You do want to make sure that it's pretty even as far as how thick it is or thin it is. You don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin, but you don't want it off thicker here than it is here. I like double crust pies. So this is going to be the inner crust. So I'm just going to flip this over and go around it with a knife. You don't need to grease your pie tins. Okay, now for the top. You can double this pie crust recipe. I'll leave it below so that you have it. Or you can just do the single recipe. It depends on how much you want to make. Okay, and this is how I'm going to measure the top crust. I'm just going to take one of the pie tins. And use that, and that's going to fit. See, that's going to fit right on top of here. We're going to do our filling first, so I'll just set that there and work on the next one. Okay, I'm going to set my tops aside, take a scoop, and fill my crust. Now you don't have to season, or I didn't have to season this filling because it was already seasoned as my soup, so I was content with the way it was seasoned, so I did not add anything extra. You can if you want to. Sometimes I throw a little sprig of rosemary in with my pies because I love the rosemary flavor. So these three are going to be supper tonight. We've got our granddaughters coming over and they really like these. Okay, let's put the crust on. Okay. I like to take the outer crust and kind of roll it around the top. This is easier to do on a bigger pie, but we'll get her done on this one. This kind of helps it from the inside from seeping out. Kind of seals it a little bit better. Okay, so you'll see one pie just magically appeared here. I had a little bit more pie crust than I thought, so I went ahead and made another one really quick. So I went in my refrigerator to get an egg to do an egg wash, and lo and behold, I have no more eggs. So my mother taught me that you can use milk for a wash over the tops of pies just as well. Milk, cream, egg white, or just, you know, an egg. I prefer an egg, but when you don't have one, you grab for what you do have, and you make it work for the best. And I had milk, so that's what we're going to do. I'm just going to brush this on here. You're not going to get as golden a look to these as I would prefer, but it is going to work the same as what an egg would. So I'm going to create some little vents in each one of the pies. This is just going to allow for the steam to escape. Aren't these cute? I love little one-pot meals like this. I mean, they're just so creative, and I don't know, if you make these for company, maybe you have company coming over, I don't know, it just shows that you put a lot of thought into the meal that you're preparing, and they're just adorable. I don't know, I have a thing for things like this, I guess. Okay, so these are going to go into an oven 375 degrees just until they're golden. If you want to freeze these and not cook them right now, you know, to save them for later, then you would take them just like this, slip them into a Ziploc bag, seal it, and put them either on a cookie tray or on a flat surface in your freezer and let them freeze solid. Once they've frozen, you can pop the pies right out of the shell and out of the tin, put them back into the Ziploc, seal it. You want to write on there the date, pop them into your freezer, and there you have it. Lunch for another day. A day maybe that you don't have time otherwise to fix anything, or you forgot to take something out of the freezer and you need something really quick. This is perfect. A good little tip when you're doing stuff like this, you have a lot of things going, you're making the pie crust, you're doing something else, and you're dirtying a lot of, even if it's just little dishes. What I like to do, and you can't see, is on the sidelines, I keep a dish pan. And I am just putting all of my dishes in there as I use them. That way, I'm not having to clean every little tiny thing. It's all contained. I can take it to the sink, and I'm all ready to wash them. I gotta follow through. are done. Okay, just look at them. You have that golden color. You can see more on the outsides of them because I had them kind of turned in towards each other, but these are perfect. You're still getting the golden color that the egg wash would give. Not as much, but it's still just that pretty gold color for a crust. I mean, those are so sweet. Who is not going to want to eat one of these? It's a one dish meal, individual for each person. I think that's great. The kids love them. My kids loved them when they were little. It's just a fun little treat. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I know we're going to enjoy those pies later. I have a busy afternoon. My husband has an appointment. These are going to simplify my life because on our way home from the appointment, we're picking up 2 granddaughters, ages 1 and 5, and they're staying the night. So simplicity is key here. And if you need that in your life, then you need to try out these pies. They are make ahead. They're great. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you haven't subscribed, you can do that below. And please leave me a thumbs up and a comment. I want to hear you share. Let me know what you're cooking. Let me know if you've tried these. I'd love to hear about it. And until next time.
All that glitter is not gold, and you are some